If you're playing on PS5 and it feels like there's a slight delay between when you move your stick or press a button and when something actually happens on your screen, you might be dealing with input lag. And in shooter games, even a small amount of this can make aiming and movement feel way worse than it should. The good news is there's a few settings on your PS5 and especially on your TV or monitor that can make a noticeable difference. So I'm going to show you exactly what I would change. First thing, we're going to prioritize performance. From the PS5 home screen, go up to settings and then scroll down to save data and game/app settings. Go into game presets and you'll find performance mode or resolutions mode. You want to change this to performance mode. Now this doesn't magically reduce every type of input lag by itself, but what we're doing is telling supported games that we'd rather prioritize higher frame rates over better graphics. And for competitive games, that's usually exactly what we want. If a game can run at 120 FPS, instead of 60, you're getting a new frame much more frequently, which can make the game feel substantially more responsive. Next, go back into settings, then screen and video, and go into video output. Look for 120Hz output and make sure it's set to automatic. Now here's something important. Turning this on doesn't mean every game suddenly runs at 120 FPS. The game itself has to support 120Hz, your display needs to support it, and depending on the resolution you're using, your HMI setup needs to support the required bandwidth. But if you're playing with something competitive that offers a 120 FPS mode, you might as well use it. Going from 60 FPS to 120 FPS isn't just about the game looking smoother, it can also reduce the time between frames and make your controls feel a lot more immediate. While we're already inside video output, look for VRR, or variable refresh rate. If your TV or monitor supports VRR, set it to automatic. It synchronizes the refresh of your compatible display with the PS5's output, which can help reduce screen tearing and make inconsistent frame rates look smoother. I wouldn't tell you that VRR itself is some magic input lag switch because it's not, but on a compatible display, it's generally something I would enable for gaming. Now, we need to leave the PS5 settings for a second because one of the biggest sources of input lag can actually be on your TV. So go into your TV's picture settings and look for something called Game Mode, Game Optimizer, Low Latency Mode, or something similar. Turn that on. A normal TV picture mode can perform extra image processing before displaying the picture. That's great for making movies look better. It's not what we want when we're trying to shoot somebody as quickly as possible. Game mode is designed to minimize that processing and prioritize responsiveness. And if you've been playing PS5 on something like Cinema, Standard, Vivid, or another regular picture mode, this is one of the first things I'd change. Some TVs also support ALLM, or Auto Low Latency Mode, which allows compatible equipment to automatically switch the display into its low latency mode. And don't forget about the actual game settings. A lot of games give you a choice between something like quality, resolution, balanced, or performance. For a story game, I'll take the better graphics honestly, but if I'm playing a competitive shooter, performance every time. If there's a dedicated 120Hz or 120 FPS option inside the game, make sure that's enabled too. Otherwise, you could have 120Hz enabled on the PS5, but still be playing the game in its 60 FPS graphics mode. This last thing, people don't always want to hear. Settings can't completely fix slow hardware. If you're playing on an older TV with a high input latency, you can optimize everything correctly and still not get the responsiveness of a good gaming monitor or low latency gaming TV. That doesn't mean you go out and spend $1,000, but if you've changed all these settings and the game still feels noticeably delayed, your display is one of the first things that I'd investigate. Also, make sure your PS5 is connected directly to the appropriate HDMI port on your display, especially if only certain ports support features like 120Hz or VRR. So if you want the lowest input lag you can reasonably get out of your PS5, prioritize performance mode, enable 120Hz when supported, use VRR on a compatible display, turn on your TV's game mode, and choose performance settings inside of your games. Try these settings, then jump back into whatever shooter you normally play. You might be surprised by how much more responsive everything feels. And if you want more videos on settings that can actually improve your gaming experience, subscribe because I've got a lot more coming. Peace out.